When I became a dietitian, I was like, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm not going to follow these rules. And that's why I am where I am now. I grew up with such a great relationship with food and my cultural foods that it was more of a clash than anything of like, well, why are they telling me these things about food when like I see food differently? Because the United States doesn't use our food staples in their education doesn't mean that there's no science or that it doesn't exist. Like, what do you think they're teaching in South America? They're not using our guidelines, they're using their own guidelines.
Welcome back to Café con Pam, the bilingual podcast that shares our stories unmuted y sin censura. El día de hoy tenemos una conversación con Dalina Soto. Dalina is a bilingual registered dietitian dedicated to helping people embrace cultural foods without guilt or restriction. She fosters a positive relationship with food rooted in tradition and sabor. With a strong social media presence and her book, The Latina Anti-Diet, she empowers her audience to reclaim comida con cultura while promoting authentic health. Y bueno, listeners, mi conversación con Dalina, I think it will be eye-opening for you. Of course, definitely read the book because that's where she breaks down her chula method, and she can literally, it almost feels like somebody's holding your hand as you go through your food journey. Entonces, pero esta conversación me encantó, nos la pasamos súper bien y bueno, sin más, here's my conversation with Dalina Soto. Dalina, welcome to Café con Pam.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am well. I am well. So the first question we always ask is, what is your heritage?
I am Dominican American.
Grew up?
I grew up in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did your parents land in Philadelphia?
That's a great question. I honestly don't even know. They just live here.
Okay.
I know that they lived in New York, and then they moved to Philly. But I don't feel like I've never asked that question. I really don't even know because my family just all kind of like came here together. So
As we usually do.
yeah, but I never asked why. That's a great
Okay.
question. I should probably ask.
Because, I don't know. I'm always
I don't
curious
know.
about
I
that.
just never asked. I just never have asked. And I don't think anybody's ever asked me that either. So I'm just like, oh, we just live here.
Yeah. We landed.
We just got here.
So, what number are you in siblings? Do you have siblings?
Yes, I am the eldest daughter.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
How many siblings do you have?
I have two brothers.
Oh my gosh, so you
Yeah.
really are the
Two
eldest.
younger brothers. Yeah, I am literally the only daughter and the eldest.
Wow. How was that?
Yeah. Fun. I was left alone a lot by them, by the boys. They had each other, so
Was it lonely for you?
No, but I'm just saying, like, they always had each other. They shared a room. I didn't have to share a room. They're only like a year and a few. Like, I think they're 18 months apart. So they're just like they were just always together. Like even now, they're always together, and I just like live my life. And they, I'm their sister, but I'm not like I'm not bickering with them all day. Like they bicker with
Right.
each other.
For sure, for sure. Did you have to feed them? Were you ever in charge of like taking care of them?
No. No, no. I was never in charge of taking care of them. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so she did all of that. I actually didn't even I don't like cooking. One, I think I say that very often, every day. And my mom like really didn't care for me to cook either. Like it wasn't something that she like was trying to teach me either, like because she doesn't like cooking. So it wasn't like you have to cook so that you could like have a husband. Like I didn't grow up in like a household like that. I know a lot of my primas did, where like they all know how to cook all of these like true and tried Dominican dishes, and I'm like, I'm learning now more than anything, or I've learned like later on in life, but I was never made to clean, like, and they were always so jealous and mad because I just lived my life.
Nice.
I didn't have to do the oficios.
For sure.
Yeah.
Did they ever tell you? Like, did they ever talk to you about like, why aren't you cooking and cleaning?
I don't know. I was always I was also so my mom is one of 8 and she's the youngest, and I am the second youngest grandchild. So from the girls.
Mm,
So I only have one cousin that's younger than me from the girls. So they were all a lot much older than me too because my mom, was so much younger than all of them as well.
right.
So I was the first one born in the US. Like they were all born in DR. Like they all had very different lifestyles. And I think that like it was just like a clash of different cultures. Like my mom just didn't emphasize those things for me. Like for me, it was more like you have to go to school. You have to like go to college. Like you have to do all these things. And it was never like, I mean, I did chores around the house, but it wasn't like that was my sole purpose.
Yeah. This is what makes you a woman.
Yeah, I didn't have that experience. Cuz I was just like they were just like you just need to study and go to school and like don't worry about this. Yeah.
Mm.
So I didn't really have to do any of that.
Why the Latina nutritionist?
Well, I didn't start off that way.
Tell us, walk us through the process.
Yeah, I wanted to be a pediatrician and I went to school to be a doctor and I had a scholarship and I needed to do a credit of physical activity. And I went to Penn State, which is a huge school, and I also didn't know what I was doing. And all freshmen, like it's really hard for you to get a credit like that anyway because you're the last one to get access to courses. And also, I don't like sports. I don't like to exercise. So I actually didn't sign up for anything. Like I filled up my roster and I didn't sign up for
That's
anything.
the
And my
last thing you.
advisor called me in. Yeah. My advisor called me in and he's like, you need to take this class. Like you need a physical activity class, but this semester we can, you know, have you take nutrition 101 and we can count that as like that requirement, but like moving forward you need to take a class. And I was like, all right, whatever. So I took nutrition and I was like, wait a second, I really really like this. I am still in medical care. Like I'm still going to be, a medical provider, but I don't have to go to school for 12 years. Like I don't
Right.
have to like do all of this crazy thing. Like I am going to have all the science education. Like it's a STEM. And dietitians don't really have to work overnights at hospitals. Like you're just there, during the day. So in my mind, I was like, this feels like a better gig. And also, I get to be on the preventative side of care, right? Like I don't have to wait until people are sick. I can try to help people prevent the sickness. So I was so naive and I was just like, I'm going to cure diabetes. I'm going to do all of these things when I become a dietitian. But I didn't know what a dietitian was. I had no idea. I just like went in there blind.
And it found you. Would you say that?
It found me. Here I am.
Because if you hadn't put that off in a way, then who knows what class would have landed on you.
Yeah, I would have been a pediatrician right now. I
I
think
know.
maybe. Yeah, I would have just probably like finishing residencies and stuff.
Probably.
I would have still been in school.
Imagine how different your life would have been.
Yeah, my life would have been so different. Yeah.
So wild.
Yeah.
So, nutrition found you and
Hmm.
your mind changed. What was the thing that excited you the most besides the workload? Like, you don't have to be overnight at hospitals and all, like, you don't have to go to school so long. What was the actual core of?
The preventative care side of it. Like I really was like, I can actually try to make a difference by helping people not become so sick, right? Again, in my mind, I was like, yeah, I'll just help teach people how to eat healthy. I mean, obviously, now I know it's way more than that, but when you're 20 years old, not even. I was I was literally just 18. Like I turned 18 in July before I started college. So like I was like a baby,
Yeah.
So I had like no idea. I was just like, I'm here. Let's do this.
Let's go. Excited about the future.
Yeah.
How was your relationship with food then?
I've always had, and I talk about this a lot in my book. I always had like I said earlier, I had a very different upbringing, I feel like, than a lot of Latinas, because my mom was not very much into like these like gender roles of like you have to clean, you have to cook, you have to do all of that. And I was always in a body that was acceptable. You know, I was straight sized. I was not ever told not to eat or what to eat. I was able to live my life without people ever questioning why I was eating. Um, and so I was able to grow up with like a very beautiful relationship to food. I also didn't have this like hate for my body because again, nobody ever talked about my body. Nobody ever commented about my body. I just was able to exist, and I am very thankful for that upbringing that I had. And I know again, not the same for everybody else in my family. I was just fortunate enough to have parents that just like never commented. And I never really had to deal with it. So I always had a good relationship with food in my body because food was just food for us. Like, you know, like food was just like the nourishment that you needed, right? The food that, you know, your family made for you, but it was never more than that. For me at least. I can't say the same for everybody else.
Did you notice a different type of scenario with your primas, for example, that you talk about?
Yeah, obviously, yeah, because they all were always, you know, but again, they were a lot older than me. They were in high school
Mhm.
already. Like I was younger. I mean, when I was in high school, they were all married already. So, like, again, I came up being the youngest of that group.
Mhm.
Um, and again, seeing them deal with that, but like it was never pushed onto me, right? Like they were never telling me. I mean, I grew up laughing at all their stories and making fun of them for doing those things. But on my end, I was like, I'm never doing anything like that. Like, like I don't need to do anything like that. Right. So I grew up in like I want like the gray area of it all. Like I didn't have to deal with it, but I still saw it.
Yeah.
But I knew all of that was not for me. So even when I started in nutrition, it was more of this cognitive dissonance of like, this is so foreign to me because I've never been in this. But also, I grew up with such a great relationship with food and my cultural foods that it was more of a clash than anything of like, well, why are they telling me these things about food when like I see food differently? I see how my family is too. Like nobody's sick, everybody's really healthy. We eat all of these foods, so like, why are you telling me different? So it was like very much this like clash of information for me. Um, but I just kept it going.
Did you challenge it as it was being taught to you? Or were you more questioning it?
I was questioning it internally. I tried a few times to challenge it, and I, you know, obviously got in trouble because when you go to a primarily white institution, you know, can't stand up. But I think it was like again, and I talk a lot about this in my book, about that like dissonance of like you have to stay quiet. You are learning this information and you're told that this is the correct way, this is the right way. You're learning from these professors that have been in the field for like decades,
Mhm.
and who are you to question it? Right? Like, who are you, this like little Dominican girl coming in? Like, who are you to question this information? So it was a lot of clashing internally. And when I did speak out on it, obviously there were repercussions. Um, but yeah, it was it was a lot.
Did you at any point, like, because I think when you are taught that something that you grew up eating, for example, is like so bad for you because whatever,
Yeah.
and you challenged it and you were then quieted. Did you at any point where like was I'm not gonna say anything, but I'm still gonna believe what I believe to be true? Or did you continue to challenge it? How was that process of this like internal conflict?
I'm not someone that can be told what to do, so I just learned it, and I was like, "I'm not doing this shit. I'm just gonna do
Mm.
whatever I want." I was like, "I'm not doing this." So no, when I became a dietitian, I was like, "I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm not gonna follow these rules." And that's why I am where I am now. Because I was like, I'm not gonna follow this because I know it's not true. And and then it was up to me, right, to find the information and to find the further education away just from what I was taught in that institution,
Mm,
to really like become who I am and be the dietitian that I am today. There's a lot of things that I had to relearn and unlearn, these like
mhm.
biases that are taught, because I still believed that even though I didn't think it was our food necessarily, right, I was still very much like, oh, we need to control your portions, like we need to do all of these like very sneaky diet culture things, that now I know are like very insidious. So even though I was still very much like, eat your rice and beans, I was also very much like, but we still need to control you. Like we still need to have like
Mm.
this like obsession with like being perfect almost, in a sense, which
Yes.
again was taught to me by school. It wasn't what I was taught at home. It was more of like that. This is how you do things. Like when you have a patient in front of you, this is how you do it. And I always had that little voice behind my head that was like, this still doesn't seem right, but I still did it, right? Because you also need to understand that like you're working in these places where you have to follow protocols. Like you can't
Yes.
deviate from it. So even though I would try to deviate from it as best as I could, it was still funding, grant funding, and like all this like red tape around what I could really say. And so I still had to follow the rules in that sense because I was working at nonprofits. Like I can't just say exactly what I want to say. So I was still perpetuating it to a certain point because I didn't have a choice. Um, and it was a lot of internal
Mm. How did
turmoil, I would say.
Totally. I could see that. And I could see it happen in different careers.
Yeah, it happens in a lot of careers.
Totally. So, how did you, as you were dealing with it, when you finished and you had this education and this foundation with also this like diet type of foundational too, you go into the world to work on it. You're presented with protocols and guidelines that you must follow. And there's something that doesn't feel right. How do you continue to exist while knowing that there's this internal voice saying you can do it better, you can do it different? You often talk about cultura, like how could I bring cultura without breaking the rules and still kind of like go around it? What did you do?
Hmm. I started my private practice. I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I mean, um, so I to become a dietitian, it's a lot of schooling. I don't think people realize.
Yeah.
It's more than just your 4 years in in your bachelor's degree. So I was working in nonprofits technically as a nutritionist because I wasn't a dietitian yet because I hadn't done my internship. I hadn't sat for the board's exams. So for the beginning part of my career where I technically didn't have that credential yet, I had to follow the rules and I was still going to school, right? Because I needed a master's degree. So I was still getting my master's. I was still doing the internship. I was still doing that. So after I graduated for the next 3 years, I had to follow the rules, right? I
Mhm.
had to be in red tape and all of that. But once I graduated, I took the first job and I was like, all right, I'm just going to take this and see where it takes me. And I did have more flexibility because I wasn't working for nonprofits anymore. I was working for a bigger corporation and I was left alone for a lot of the time. But a part of me was still like, I can do better. So
Mm.
once I actually became a dietitian and got my first job as a dietitian, I only kept that job for like 2 years. And then I was like, no, I'm going to start my private practice. So a lot of the like back and forth was while I was still getting my master's and while I was still working through that dietetic internship. But once I was able to just like be free, I was like, I'm doing it. And I started my private practice. Literally, I was a baby dietitian still, you know. So I've had my private practice for almost 10 years. 8
Nice.
years. Yeah.
What was harder, to start a business or to kind of like redefine all the things you had learned?
Oh, to start a business. To start a business because again, the science is always going to be the same, right? So this a carb is going to be a carb, a fat's going to be a fat, a protein is going to be a protein. I know what happens to food the minute it touches your tongue to the minute you poop it out. Like none of that is going to change. What did change was how I educated about it and the culture aspect of it that was never taught to me, right? So like the foundation was still there. It was just the way I was as a dietitian that changed because I started bringing in our cultural food. I mean, I live in Philadelphia. Like, we have one of the biggest Puerto Rican, percentages and Dominicans, and we have, Colombians, Brazilians. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we have a very diverse community. So I was in the communities working with them. So it didn't change the knowledge that I had, the medical training that I had didn't change. It was more of like how I talked about it and how I incorporated our cultural foods because just because the United States doesn't use our food staples in their education doesn't mean that there's no science or that it doesn't exist. Like, what do you think they're teaching in South America? They're not using our guidelines, they're using their own guidelines. So it was more of me taking control of the narrative and really utilizing my brain.
Yes.
And just like using the science and applying it to the foods that we were eating. So I do think that like that, yeah, it was a challenge because I was going against the status quo. But starting a business is not for the, faint of heart. Like,
Indeed.
like it is a lot. I mean, I'm 8 years in and I'm still in the trenches. So it's not.
Yes, it
you
is.
know it's not like you just like wake up one day and everything is like
Mm-hmm.
unicorns and rainbows. There's always something happening. So um yeah, no, definitely the business.
For sure. I could agree with that 100%. Um, so who's your first client? Do you remember?
Yeah, she's actually one of my BFFs right now. I would say my first client
As a private
of
practice.
as a private practice on Instagram, I would say. uh
Okay.
my first client, I wouldn't be able to tell you who my first client was from like when I was just taking insurance. I mean, I had a lot of corporate clients, I would say. Like I would go to a lot of local Philly unions and I would like be their diet like I was their dietitian on site. So like their employees would come see me. Um and then I do okay, you know what? I do have one that I still talk to. She actually was one of my first private practice clients. I remember because I was pregnant with my son, and she like literally like we still talk and text all the time. Um, and yeah, I do remember her. I don't want to say her name, but yeah.
No, of course. But like, do you remember that one person? Did you test things out in the beginning?
No, because I was like, I know what I'm doing. I'm a dietitian. I got this.
Nice.
I mean, the harder part was getting a network with insurance companies. That was more of like working. I knew another dietitian that was doing it, so she helped me, fill up all the paperwork. She had her own private practice too, so it was more of like getting all of that in order, like becoming like getting a network with insurance companies,
Mm,
and really focusing on like how do I make sure I'm doing everything right. Like, how am I going to bill for
right.
insurance? Like, teaching myself all of that, that was the hard part. That's why I'm like, that's why being a business owner is hard. Like, I can be a dietitian, but now I have to teach myself how to bill insurance. I have to teach myself how to be, get a network with insurance, right? Like, all of that took a while. And even when you apply to be a network with an insurance company, like it could take months or
Mm-hmm.
years for you to become a network with them. So all of that was like the difficult part. Me in front of a patient, no, that's not difficult because I can, I'm a yapper and I have my master's in nutrition education. Like I'm here, I'm good to go. But yeah, the part that was the hardest was getting all of that back end stuff going, and then once it was going, again, there's such a need. I mean, there. there weren't that many Spanish speaking dietitians in this area.
Mm.
So it was just like, I'm here. I just, would walk around to all these places and be like, I can offer you these services. I was like reaching out to HR departments. So like it was pretty quick that I was able to, you know, get all these clients under my belt because the need was there. Um, but again, I was just at the right places at the right time. I don't
Mm.
even want to say it was like hustle. Like I hate the whole like grind and like hustle. Like no, I just literally just knew that I was going to go to these institutions because I'm like, I know there's a lot of Latinos working here. I'm just going to show up and see. And they were like, yes. I'm like, you take this insurance, I can take this insurance, and it's free for you. And I'm just going to be here. Give me an office. All your employees can make appointments with me. And it was just like, oh yeah, like this is something we didn't think about. So again, I just I just did it.
One step in front of the other,
Yeah.
which is what starting a business is
Yeah,
like.
yeah, yeah.
But what I love is that you used your earned experience, which is your schooling, your education, all of
Yeah.
the academic knowledge, and your lived experience came with it.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes when we go to school, we are taught these principles that are just like very white driven because that's
Yeah.
who taught them. And we don't tend to like always like, I feel like it happens often. And I've had conversations with people where they're like, yeah, I feel like it's not right, but I can't challenge.
Yes.
And, like, I love that you were challenging and you were like, "Let me wait, this is not right. I wanna bring platanos in my."
I think it takes a different kind of person to want to go against the grain. I think,
Mhm.
again, and I talk a lot about this in my book, the assimilation part, not just me or like us as educators or as
Mhm.
dietitians, but also as people coming into our country. You have to understand, like, you're coming into this quote unquote land of the free. America's the greatest country in the world. They're the smartest people. They have the best of everything. And you're getting this education at these like huge institutions that you've literally been told are like top of the top. Like the best doctors are here, the best everything is here, right? And who are you to come in and change that, right? Like, and also, this country has done a really good job at not letting us see the excellence in other countries.
Have a good marketing.
Yeah, it's very great marketing. Um, and so people come to this country and want to assimilate. They want to be
Mhm.
American. And in order to do that, you have to follow the rules. You have to do what they say. You can't be yourself. You can't be loud. You can't have curly hair. You can't, curse. You can't do all of these things that are quote unquote called unprofessional. And I've just never been someone who's been told what to do and took it seriously. Like I'm always like, fuck you.
Yes.
Like, I just can't be told what to do. It's like my biggest trigger. Um, so that's what's catapulted me here.
And it makes me think of when I went to art school, and I found it like I'm finding some similarities there because when I went to art school, and so there's all of these foundation on all of these artists, and all of these artists are European and like
Hmm.
whatever. And like I wanted to bring color, like bright colors and like really, and make we say chillantotes, like really bright and like rich colors instead of muted and things like
Hmm.
that. And one of my teachers who was great, she was like, "Okay, Pam, I need you," because I'm also a rebel. I'm an eldest daughter. Don't tell me what to do. I've been telling everyone what to do since I came out the womb. Like, stop. And so she was like, "Look, I need you to learn the rules, and you have to know the rules really well before you break them. And so if you can commit to that, then I'll let you break the rules once you know them really well."
Oh, I like that.
That gave me this really like powerful foundation to be like, all right, I'm gonna learn all your like whatever European Eurocentric ways of doing this. And then I'm gonna go look at the muralists that I look up to.
Yeah.
Like go to what attracts me after I learn your rules, because then I'll know them so well that I know how to bend them. And I feel like you did something
Yeah.
similar.
I did without having that teacher tell me that.
Right. You were just like, I'm not going to do it.
I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm gonna do my own thing.
Okay, so let's take a quick coffee break.
Sabrosura pa' ti que.
Dalina, do you drink coffee?
All day, every day.
Yeah, how do you drink your coffee?
I drink it with whole milk and whipped cream.
Ooh, fun. Every day?
Yeah, every day. I post it every day on Instagram every morning. It's there.
It's here. I love that.
It's how you know a new set of stories start.
It's reset. Nice.
Every morning. You know that's the new day when you see me with a different mug.
Love it. And like no other, that's it. Coffee,
No
whole milk,
coffee, whole
and
milk, whipped cream. That's it.
how many cups do you drink a day?
So I would say cups are if we're counting actual ounces, then it's gonna be like, well, you know what I mean, like. But I would say I make 1 cup in the morning that has 7 ounces of coffee,
Okay.
because that's what my Nespresso shoots out of it, and then I have like my milk and all that stuff in it, and then in the middle of the day I tend to have iced coffee because I can't start my day with iced coffee. It just doesn't feel right. So I have to have hot coffee in the morning, and then mid afternoon when I need that pick me up, I switch to the iced coffee when it's warmer outside. I don't really do iced coffee in the winter. In the winter, I would just do another coffee. So when I'm at home by myself, yeah, it's always like 2 cups, 2 mugs,
Uh-huh.
whatever ounces are in there. But if I'm at my mom's house or if I'm with my family, you're drinking coffee all day because everybody's making coffee, and
And
every time somebody walks in the door, it's like cafecito,
cafecito.
cafecito. So you're
Yeah.
just drinking coffee all day. So caffeine does not affect me. I could drink a cup of coffee and go right to sleep. I'm all right.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I can't.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about it. Oh, I'm sorry.
I know. It's such a bummer. And I have a whole thing, a
I'm
whole
so
podcast about
sorry.
coffee.
No, I'm so sorry. I could drink coffee and fall asleep immediately.
Oh, I wish. But I also, mi gastritis, I don't know if it will take so
Oh,
much coffee, you know?
no. Yeah, no.
Because when I was like 11, it's get we eat a lot of chile in Mexico. I grew up in Mexico
That's
City.
not why.
It's a myth.
That's not why you have gastritis. Yes, that's a myth. You know how much spicy food people eat around the world?
You're right. You're right. Well, I had gastritis since I was like very según. And then
That's genetic. Girl, that's
makes sense. Or anxiety. I don't know.
both.
Yeah. And so
That is not the hot food.
it's not that hard. Good to know.
No. It could be a trigger, but it's not what caused it.
I'm not the most spicy eating person because I don't like to suffer.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Yo no me gusta que tenerlos.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
my favorite part.
De mocos.
When they clear you out, that's the best feeling. Clear me out. Get all those sinuses out of there.
Okay. Well, back to the coffee. So my cutoff is 11 o'clock ish
Or in the morning?
in the morning. We don't
I'm
even make
sorry.
it to the afternoon. Now I push it, and sometimes I do 1 p.m. But no, it does affect me. Now, what I've been drinking is cacao.
Okay.
So I've been getting really into cacao, and it's not cocoa; it's the actual cacao bean
It's the actual
and the
cacao,
whole
yeah.
before it gets like industrially processed. And so what I'm drinking is that's why it looks very like brown
Yeah.
because it's half cacao, half coffee.
Okay.
And I can drink cacao all day because the caffeine that it
The
has is
caffeine is
much
lower.
less.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so you see me drinking cacao all day, and it's so much better. And it feels good in my tummy. And I add a lot of
I love that.
herbs. So I make kind of like a tea, and that's the
Okay.
water that I use to make the cacao.
Okay.
And so it's this like fun concoction that I couldn't do with coffee.
I mean, I can't live without coffee, so I'm gonna let you have the cacao, and I'm gonna keep.
I mean, I drink coffee in the morning. I'm with you in the
I
mornings.
need the cafe all day,
I wake
every
up
day.
with cafe.
The stronger, the better. Don't give me no Folgers.
Oh yeah, no, we don't do that. Yeah, no. So, but I want to give a shout out to Deets by Noemi, who's a local San Diego like branding company, and
Oh,
she sent me a
yeah.
mug with my
That's so
logo. I did a new logo. Yeah.
cute.
And so
I
and
love a
this
clear mug.
I know.
Can
You
you
can
get me one?
Yeah,
Tell her to send me one.
I'll tell her to send you one for sure. And it's a good size mug too.
I know. I need big ones. I hate the little small mugs because like I said, my coffee alone is 7 ounces, and then I'm putting a whole another, 8 ounces of milk. I'm putting a whole cup of milk in there. You
Well, you
know,
need a real mug.
I need that.
I'll let her know. I'll let her know.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to the show.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something we all deserve: financial empowerment. Whether you're tackling debt, planning for retirement, or starting that dream business, navigating your finances can feel overwhelming. But it doesn't have to be, thanks to Savvy Ladies. Savvy Ladies is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping women like you take control of your financial future. They offer free resources, webinars, and my favorite, a free financial helpline where you can connect one on one with trusted financial experts. And yes, it's completely free. Whether you're just starting your financial journey or need guidance on a specific challenge, Savvy Ladies is here to provide quality and trusted advice you can count on. So why wait? Visit savvyladies.org today and connect with the financial helpline to get the personalized support you deserve. Your journey to financial independence starts here. That is savvyladies.org. Your path to financial freedom can start today. If you've started making your cafecitos at home to get on with that morning routine and build the habit of saving money, it could be a good strategy. Pero there might be an easier way to save. Did you know that if you open a new savings builder account at BMO, you can earn a $5 reward every month you grow your balance by $200 or more during the first year? Learn more about how BMO can help you grow your savings by visiting bmo.com/save. bmo.com/save. Conditions apply. Accounts provided in the United States by BMO Bank and a member FDIC. Okay, so Dalina, you wrote this book,
Uh-huh.
and in the book, you talk about your Chula framework.
Yes.
And we can talk about it, but I'm more curious about when was the moment when you said, okay, I have the knowledge now to write the book?
Well, I didn't set out to write a book. um, when you live life on Instagram, people find you.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so an agent found me back in 2020. And it was like a small agency, and she was like, I love your work. I love what you're talking about. Like, I really think you can write a book. And I was like, well, never done this before. I don't know what this is. What do you mean? She's like, just like, let's get a proposal together and let's shop it around. Right. And I was like, okay, whatever. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anybody else has written a book. Let's see what happens. So again, it was a small agency. It didn't really go anywhere. She had one publisher in mind, and I met with this publisher, and this publisher like tore me apart. And I was like, "Ma'am, I don't even know what I'm doing here. Like, why are you tearing me apart this way?"
Was this a meeting?
Yeah, like she was just like, "This is, the writing is awful. It sounds like you're just ranting and all this stuff." And I was just like,
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what I'm doing. Like, and nobody even taught me how to do a
Right.
proposal. I just like did this by
Wrote it.
myself. She said write 2 chapters. And I was like, all right, let me just write 2 chapters. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So it kind of like left a sour taste in my mouth, and I was like, ugh, maybe this isn't for me. So that proposal sat on my computer for 3 years. Um, and then my friend wrote a book. And she was like, my agent is so good. You should actually try again. And I was like, I don't know. And she was just like, no, no, no. Like, you should meet with them. So our current agents now are friends, and they own a company. So my friend was with one agent, and then I met with the other agent, and she was like, no, like, this is great. I think this has so much potential. And she actually taught me how to write a proposal, right? Because the
Nice.
other agent didn't, right? The other agent was like young. I don't want to talk crap about her, but like not in a
She didn't know
big.
what she didn't know.
She no, I don't think she. I think I was like the first book she pitched. Like it wasn't. She just didn't know the how to read the room or just like
Yeah.
how to Yeah, she was just shooting her shot, and I was like, all right, girl, let's do this. But obviously, I needed more than that. So my new agent, took the proposal. Actually, I asked Prisca. I don't know if you know Prisca
Sí,
Dorcas.
claro.
Yeah.
We're both
So I was
excited for
like,
her.
Prisca, I don't know how to do this. And she's like, girl, here's my proposal. Just like take this form and then like do it. I was like, all right, great. And then my editor, or not my editor, my agent was like, all right, let me tweak it. So like, obviously I had help because that now I was like older and I understood, and they were like, yeah, we just have to tweak it to like make the publishers want to read this, right? Which again, the last time I just like typed the whole
Mm-hmm.
document, like no, reason. I was just shits and giggles, yeah, loosey goosey, yeah. So she was like, yes, I'm gonna sign you on. She like tweaked it, and then she got me. So to go back, sorry, I was already doing the Chula method way before that. Not when I had the first agent, but definitely by the time I came to the second, it was like I already had my 6-week group going. I already had like the blogs up. It was already like what I was doing and talking about all day every day. So creating or editing the second proposal was a lot easier when I had that framework in mind.
Yes. Yes.
And so it was more, I took what I taught in my 6-week group, and I just created an outline of like what I did every day. And then it was just filling in the research and filling in all of that information. And so, yeah, so she found 5, publishers that wanted to meet with me. And I met with one. I was like, oh, all right, this is cool, yeah. But then I met with Penguin Random House. That was the second publisher that I met with.
Yeah.
And they came in with a full team of Latinas. I mean, one lady was there, crying, saying how much she like loved the book or the proposal and how much it was needed. It was all women, and it was just like, wow, these people actually are reading this and believe it, right? Like I feel like when you meet with other
Yes.
people, they say they read it, but like the other person made me feel icky again. Like some people
Mm-hmm.
just don't have people skills.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they came in ready. They were like, we read it, we love it. You know, they were actually giving me examples of like I knew that they read it. And I was like, I literally looked at my agent and I was like, I don't want to meet with anybody else. I don't care what they offer me. I want them because I know that they're going to take this book serious. And they didn't ask me to change it. Like they didn't like the
Mm.
publisher before was like, well, what about white women? And I was like, white women have a lot of books.
Yeah. Like,
They were
go to
like,
the
do
book
you
session.
think yeah, they were like, do you think that they're gonna feel like this book isn't for them? I was like, but it's not for them.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's not. So like that made me feel weird. But then, they came in and they were like, no, this book is for us. And I was like, yes, you get it. So I don't care how much money you give me. This is what I'm going with. And I didn't meet with anybody else.
And it makes a difference when you have a team that believes you.
Yes, exactly. Like I didn't care about, I know people want the money, but I was like, I don't care about the money if my book is going to be changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like switch it up.
Yeah, and switch it up or change my writing. Like that was one of the main things. I was like, I'm gonna curse. That's who I am as a human. I'm gonna say things in Spanish. Whatever flies out of me in Spanish is gonna stay in Spanish. Like, and they were like, yes.
And without italicizing.
And no italicizing. I said that. I
Yeah.
said no italicizing.
Yes. That's something that Prisca, because I've interviewed her a couple of times already. And that's something that she always says too.
Yeah.
Is don't
She
italicize
said that to
Spanish.
me. Yeah, don't
Yes.
italicize it. They did italicize one thing in there, but it was more of like because I was speaking, it was like how to speak.
Mm.
So they italicized like when I say this is how you speak. I think they italicized it. I don't know. I'm looking through to see if I see it because I really did say don't italicize it. So now I'm like, did they? They italicize. They italicize like English words, like when I emphasize it.
Nice.
Yeah, but not the Spanish words.
Because they don't need to.
No, I was like, no, whoever's reading it, either they Google it or they just keep it moving.
Or they know.
Like, they know, yeah. Yeah.
For sure. And I love that story of how it started with this proposal you didn't know what you didn't know. And then I think it's also sometimes we plant the seed and you also develop your body of work because you said that at that point you don't have the Chula method. And then that allowed you to develop that body of work that made it a much more robust book. But that kind of like planted the seed in you within you to be like, you could write a book, but like maybe this is
Mhm.
not the time, you know? And so
Yeah, I
then,
was just like, ugh. It
right.
left a sour taste in my mouth. I was like, I don't know if this
Mm-hmm.
is for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then as you build the rest of your body of work, now the time came when you were much more prepared. You found a really awesome team, you had more
Mhm.
resources, and you had a whole body of work that now we can all read anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and I think again, it's like weird because if I would have written the book back then, I didn't have more dietitians on my team. Like I would have been like probably killing myself to write a book plus work.
Mm-hmm.
Um and like trying to keep myself afloat as opposed to like 2 years ago, I had a team. I could step back. I could like delegate more and like actually take time to write the book that I wanted to book, like, or that I wanted to book that I wanted to write because it takes a lot of research. I mean, people are always like, oh yeah, you wrote a book. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand. Like, they fact checked everything. And I love that. I love that they were like, we need to make sure that the research that you put in here says exactly what you're saying it's saying. And I love that because I think that, I sometimes, see these books out here, people that have no business writing it, they weren't
Mm-hmm.
fact checked and they're like saying all this random shit that is really hurting people. But like I am so grateful that I have a publisher, had a publisher that was just very much like, no, we are going to make sure that like everything you say is correct. And I'm like, yes, let's go. I mean, the fact checking was horrible, like when you see the paper come through, like and it's all red lines, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
um and all the questions, and I'm like, again, I don't like to be told what to do, so it was a lot
Yeah.
for me
Yes. Yes.
to take it in. But no, like knowing that my book is actually giving real science information and that nobody can dispute it because like I literally was fact checked
Mm-hmm.
to no end is important for me. I probably wouldn't have gotten fact checked back then because I wouldn't have had this publisher.
Totally. I love that. So tell us all the places and spaces where people can find you.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up because it's right here because I'm looking at it. It's right here.
Yes.
Everywhere books are found. You can get it at every bookstore online. I mean, you're probably not gonna walk in and get it at every bookstore.
You can ask for it.
You could ask for it at the library. You could ask
Mm-hmm.
for it at your bookstore. The more you ask, the better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? More people get to see it. And it's also on Audible. I recorded it myself, so you can get the audio. If you have Spotify Premium, or if you have, I don't know, I don't use the Amazon stuff, but apparently it's also on Amazon
Okay.
Audible. Like if you have the premium, if you have like Amazon Music. So anywhere that you can listen to audiobooks, it's on there. It's on Libro FM. Um, you could get it on Libby if you request it. So like anywhere you can find your
Mm.
books, you're going to find it. And it's also coming out in Spanish. So it'll be in Spanish July
Nice.
1st. So you can pre-order that now because pre-orders are the best things you can do for an author.
Yes,
So you can pre-order it and then you can order the English version and have it immediately.
for sure. Pre-orders are super helpful because it basically is a way for people to show the publisher that we want it.
Yeah.
And so we don't have the pre-order for the English one, but we can do it for the Spanish one.
Yeah.
And what I like to do is I order like 2 or 3, sometimes 5, depending on my budget. And then I give them away. They're great like giving a book for birthdays are great gifts.
Yeah. I love it.
I'm planting that seed on listeners because
Yes.
sometimes we get invited to like, I don't know, cumpleaños or whatever. Give
Yeah.
them a book.
Yes. And if they can't read with their eyeballs, tell them it's on Spotify.
There we go. Download it.
Download
Yes, for
it.
sure. For sure. Okay. So, I mean, still have so many questions. But one thing that I wanted to ask you was this intuitive eating thing that you
Uh-huh.
talk about that it misses the cultura.
Yeah.
Tell me your take on it.
So intuitive eating became very popular in 2020. I mean, it's been around since the 90s. And I learned about it before that, not through school, but like again, when I was trying to figure out like a different way that I knew,
Mm.
was not what I was being taught. I came across health at every size. I came across intuitive eating, and it really changed the way that I educated, because I was like, this makes sense. This is how I grew up eating. This is how I know how to live
Mm.
my life. I've always been a very, quote unquote natural intuitive eating. Like, I, again, because I was never forced to eat, I was never told not to eat. Like, I was just very intuitive with my needs. And it makes a lot of sense, right? Because if you aren't told those things, then you're able to grow up listening to your hunger and your fullness and understanding all of these needs. But again, because we grew up in all these societies that make you micromanage the children in front of you,
Mhm.
they don't even have choices, right? It's, you know do as I say, not as I do kind of scenarios. They can't speak up, they have to clean their plate, they have all these things. You really take away that body autonomy from them. So intuitive eating just felt like a very new and like progressive and like amazing idea, right? And I was like, yes, I'm all in. But then, as you're in a lot of things, you start seeing things differently. Like, okay, like intuitive eating is great, but it's also missing a lot of this like cultural aspect of it. And then people started co-opting it, and then it got really murky and weird. And it's like it's like we can't have any good things. Because as soon as something's good, people take it and like do completely different things. And then I
Yeah.
do feel like, I say this in the book, but like people take things so serious. Like people become like stan culture is so crazy, because then that they live and breathe these rules and they live and breathe these principles, and it's like you just made it worse.
Yep. Yep.
Because life isn't about you like creating a set of rules and like following, like this like strict way. So like people definitely take intuitive eating and make it into like this like stand culture way of thinking and doing. It's like you can't, god forbid,
Mm.
you're doing something differently. So for me, it's more of like the way that I've lived my whole life. It's like you learn these things, you take what you take from it, and then you keep it moving, right? Like you learn what you need to learn, and you keep moving forward. Like it doesn't have to be a checklist, it doesn't have to be all or nothing, it doesn't have to be this like insane way of living. It's just be you. Do what works for best for you and your body. um which is really hard in today's social media, TikTok, influencer world, right? Because everybody and their mom thinks that they can come and, speak about nutrition.
Yeah. Everyone's an influencer.
Everybody's an influencer. Everybody knows about food and nutrition. And I'm like, no, you don't. Trust me. No, you don't. And what works for you doesn't work for others. Like, it's so annoying. This whole like high protein thing. I'm like, y'all are killing yourselves. You're eating so much protein that I feel bad for your poops. Like, it's horrible. Like, what are we doing?
Right. Like the all meat diet?
I don't get me started. Don't get me started. And like, it's just again, yeah, it's just annoying, because it's like, why would you think that that's okay? And again, brain rot is the only answer I have. It's the brain rot.
Yeah. Is that why you got on social media? Because you were seeing people kinda, like, talk all kinds of nonsense?
I got on social media, yes, for that reason, and also because there was like nobody. I mean, I started off definitely like in the intuitive eating space, and there was like no dietitians of color really in the intuitive eating space. There was really nobody talking about it like I was, from like that cultural lens. Um, and a lot of the other, dietitians that I knew back then were like, you have to do it. Like, we need you in the space. Like, we need your voice. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll do it.
Fine.
then fine, here I am. I was like, okay. And then now social media is my job. So here we are.
You enjoy it? It looks like you enjoy it.
Some days okay, so I think it's funny because I very much go with my moods. Um
You do intuitive social media?
yeah, I do. Yeah, I only post like I don't plan ahead. Like I know people have this like plan and like I don't plan any posts. I just whatever comes out of me that day is what comes out of me. Usually I'm fighting people on TikTok for the most part, so like that's how I get so many videos. A lot of the comments. I mean, people come into my comments and say the most outrageous shit. So that kind of like keeps me with enough content.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to do much because I'm fighting trolls, but I do like fighting trolls a little bit, not too much. Sometimes it's taxing, so um certain weeks of my life I'm like I'm not even gonna give this comment the time of day. But if you catch me on a day where I feel feisty, that's when you're gonna get the best content out of me. So yeah, it's very like go with my mood.
For sure. What's something wild that people have said that you're like, this is unbelievable?
So currently I am in a beef with the bros on Instagram because I made a meme that was really funny, in my opinion. It was hilarious. About how women don't need 170 grams plus of protein. And the bros came into my comments and they're really pissed off about it because I was like, you're going to mess up your kidneys if you're eating that much protein. And they're like, there's no research that says that high protein. And I was like, slow down. There might be no research because one, it's ethically immoral to put someone on you can't study something that's going to cause damage, right? So you can't put somebody on a high protein diet and hypothesize that it's going to cause kidney damage because you can't cause kidney damage
To study it.
to study it.
Yes.
So we need to clock that, okay? Some critical thinking skills. We can't cause harm. So we're
Yes.
not going to be able to study that per se. But we know anecdotally, and if you're a nephrologist, if you work in dialysis, if you know anything about the kidneys, you know that too much protein, if you can't digest it all at once, you're going to pee it out.
Mm.
And that's a big molecule, and you have very tiny, tiny veins in your kidneys, and it can cause some acute kidney damage. It is going to completely damage your kidneys? No, unless you're doing it all the time. So that's one thing. The second thing is that, like, most people, if you're trying to eat that much protein, that means that you're eating a lot less of everything else. So you're not getting enough carbs, you're not getting enough fiber. You're probably getting enough fat if you're eating it from animal sources, but then now you no longer have a balanced diet. So now only are you putting strain on your body because you're trying to digest all this protein, you also don't have any other nutrients to help your body at all. So like it's a constant strain. And then people don't drink enough water. So then again, you're dehydrated and you're putting even more strain on your kidneys. So it's like, why are you fighting me on this? like,
When it's
like
also men talking about women's bodies.
Exactly. And I'm like, my page is for women for the most part. Like, most of my followers are femmes, women that identify in that way. So, like, why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you asking me these questions? Like, go mind your business somewhere else.
Are they dietitians or
No,
are they
it's like
like gym bros?
trainers, like gym bros. And I'm like, go ahead. Yeah, like you can get away with saying these things because nobody's questioning you because you're out here with a six pack. But like
Mm-hmm.
you're putting people in harm's way. Because then in my everyday practice, I see women coming in crying because they think they're not eating enough protein. I'm like, my girl, the math is done in kilos. And you're over here trying to eat your weight in protein in
Pounds.
pounds. Like
Ah.
like you
Oh my
can't
gosh.
like we
Yeah.
can't do this. You're going to really cause a lot of harm.
Yeah. So
I
much.
can't.
There's a lot.
That's my current fight this week of April 10th on the Instagram. Next week, I don't know what I'll be fighting about.
Well, but you got the energy. That's good.
Some days, not every day.
Have you taken a break from social media?
I take them all the time. I don't. Okay, so I delete my Instagram app every Friday, and I don't download it again until Mondays. So I don't post at all on the weekends. So I probably post like one or two stories on Fridays, and then you don't see me again until Monday morning. Like,
I love that boundary.
yeah, I don't post at all on weekends. If I'm working with a brand or whatever, I'm like, you don't get weekends out of me. It's Monday through Friday, preferably Monday through Thursday, um,
Nice.
because I'm not going to be on there all day every day. So yeah, I don't post on the weekends. I don't care what it is. If it's important, I'll post about it on Monday as a recap. So yeah, I don't do that. I mean, TikTok is different because on TikTok I just go and laugh for shits and giggles. Um, so I don't delete the TikTok app. And also, if you delete the TikTok app,
You might not be able to download it again.
yeah, that happened to me already once, so I can't
Oh,
do that again because I deleted it when the ban happened. But also, you lose all your drafts, and I don't ever keep drafts on Instagram, so I can delete it over there. But
oh, you
sometimes I
lose your
have a bunch of
drafts when you delete the TikTok app.
mm-hmm. And
Oh,
Instagram. If you delete any social media app, you lose all your drafts. But I don't keep drafts.
okay.
So I usually they're in TikTok, so I can't delete the TikTok app. But I do have
Mm,
Screen Zen, which has the limits. So then, like on the weekends, I limit my TikTok to like 20 minutes max.
nice, nice,
So I scroll and laugh, and then I'm done.
nice. Well, Dalina, thank you so much. We could stay talking forever, and
I know I'm a yapper. I
well, and I have
talk
all the
a
questions, so this is like a
Which
never-ending
they're all
conversation.
answered. They're all answered in the book. Trust me, I
I
answered them
know,
all
I know.
probably.
So definitely, listeners, get the book.
Yes.
Pre-order the book in Spanish.
Yes, please.
You didn't tell us where to follow you. You just told us where to find the book.
Sorry. Yeah. You're Latina Nutritionist on all socials.
Last couple of questions. Do you have a remedio you want to share with us?
Remedio. Oh, the one I used yesterday was when you have a chichon, you put butter and salt on it.
What?
Yes, it takes the inflammation away immediately. My daughter got elbowed at dance and she had like a huge chichon and she's like crying. So, I was like, immediately put it on and it takes away the inflammation. Don't ask me why or how. I don't know the science behind it and I don't really care because it works and you
Because it
always have butter
works,
and salt. You always have
right?
butter and salt at home.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So butter or salt, that's a new one we've not heard.
Yeah. You've never heard that one before?
No.
Okay. Well, yeah, if you have a chichon, they don't happen often unless you have children.
Yes.
But if there's a chichon, you put butter and
Unless you're
salt.
like clumsy
Yeah.
and have ADHD like me and just
I
run into
know.
things.
Yes, you're gonna need butter and salt.
Yes. The ADHD hips are a thing. I don't know if you've seen them. So people with
No.
ADHD often like walk with their hips like swing, like because we run
Oh.
into things all the time because there's this like spatial awareness. It's
Oh, I
it's
didn't know that.
fascinating. Yeah, so
I'm
we're like
sorry.
my hips are always running into things.
Oh,
It's a thing,
okay.
but
I
that's not
learned
where the
something
chichon
today.
goes. Yeah,
No, but it's fine.
it works. Do you have a quote or mantra you live by?
YOLO.
Okay,
At
okay.
this moment, I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen. We're living in some weird times. You gotta do what you gotta do.
It's very dystopian at the moment. Yeah.
Very dystopian. So I'm just living my life one day at a time. But like Toretto,
Mm,
1/4 mile at a
that's right. All we can do is keep going.
time.
Yes.
Some Fast and the Furious for you.
No hay otra manera. That's it.
No, seriously.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dalina, for coming to Café con Pan. This was a lot of fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
We would love to have you again if you want to come back and
Yes,
ask more
absolutely.
questions. I'm sure you have
Yeah.
all the answers. And thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, listeners. That was my convo. How do you feel? What do you think? Definitely screenshot and tag us. Drop a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. If this podcast has ever inspired you, there are a couple of ways that you can support us. Of course, leave a rating, a review, subscribe, drop a comment, share the episode with someone you love and care about that you think they'll resonate with this. You can also drop a review, leave us 5 stars in the podcasting platforms. We are always looking for more. And if you want to support and buy some cafecito a month, you can join the Supporters Club. This is a place where you get exclusive content, you get additional content for only $5 a month, and your contribution allows us to continue to create content for you. Of course, we have additional programs inside cafecompam.com. I love teaching, so there's some workshops that you can access through there. Claro que take the Galleta Culture quiz. You'll see that linked in the episode notes and in the description of the video. Y también, bueno, you can hire me to speak at your organization, your company. Let's bring these conversations to más gente. Let's engage in conversation. I love having conversations where we do it together. Muchísimas gracias por escuchar. Y como siempre, stay shining.
Sabrosura pa' ti que